My daughter gave me a piece of candy, and I turned around and fed it to the old bald dog, who made me be reborn. In my previous life, my daughter and husband bound me to the appearance replacement system. The ugly daughter turned into a beautiful swan, and the husband became increasingly handsome. They completely divided up my looks. I, who had been beautiful all my life, became short, old, and ugly, and in the end, I was even driven out of my home by them. My husband grabbed my hair and kicked me out onto the street. Seeing your ghostly face every day makes me sick. My daughter looked at me with disgust. Having such an ugly mother is the biggest shame of my life. In a daze, I was hit and killed by a car. Before dying, I only saw their cold, mocking faces. When I opened my eyes again, since they wanted to swap appearances, let them swap with a dog. 01. At that moment, my daughter knelt before me, clutching my leg and wailing loudly, "Mom, why are you so beautiful while I'm so ugly? Since I was little, I've been looked down upon and bullied. I'm really suffering so much. I might as well just die. Woo-woo." With that, she handed me a piece of candy. "Mom, please help me. If you eat this, I can become as beautiful as you." Looking at my daughter's dark, chubby face and the white rabbit milk candy in her hand, I only felt my scalp go numb, frozen in place. Jiang Xian, what are you standing there dumbfounded for? Can't you see our daughter is crying so hard? Do you even know how to be a mother? It's just a piece of candy. Why don't you quickly take it and eat it? Can't you even comfort a child? My husband's sudden accusation finally confirmed the reality of my rebirth. I looked up at him. I clearly saw the urgency on his face. Indeed, my appearance wasn't just passed down to my daughter. He had a share in it too. In my previous life, hearing my daughter's tearful complaints, my maternal instincts overflowed, and my heart ached so much that I shed tears. Although it felt inexplicable, I still ate the candy. Little did I expect that I, who had once been considered quite charming and well-preserved, would start to see my skin darken, my figure become bloated, my eyes shrink, even my height seemed to diminish, and I began to look more and more like both him and our daughter. But the daughter transformed from a dark-skinned, chubby child with small eyes and a flat nose into someone with fair skin, beautiful features, and big eyes. In her, I seemed to see my own youthful self. Only then did I realize that my daughter's earlier words were not just a joke. Thinking that I am already over 40 years old, I no longer dwell on the matter of becoming less attractive and sincerely feel happy for my daughter. Miraculously, not only did my daughter grow taller, but even my husband seemed to have gained a few inches, becoming more handsome and charming, and the first thing they did after their transformation was to repay kindness with ingratitude. My husband found a new love, and my daughter started dating a wealthy second-generation heir. Every day, I have to endure their malicious verbal attacks. Finally, I was even driven out of the house and was hit and killed by a car. This time, I absolutely will not eat this candy. As for whether others eat it, or if an animal eats it, will the system's ability continue to be effective? I am very curious. 02. Thinking of this, my face turned cold as I stared at my husband. "Suli, what are you yelling about? Don't you know exactly why our daughter isn't pretty? Look at her nose, eyes, and figure. Which part didn't she perfectly inherit from you? If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. How dare you criticize me? If I eat this candy, will our daughter suddenly become beautiful?" My husband was instantly left speechless, his face turning bright red. We were childhood sweethearts who grew up together, got married right after college, and had children. Everything happened naturally. I am a sentimental person and did not care about his appearance. I only cared about how well he treated me. For him, I have lost count of how many suitors I turned down. Even when friends and family said I was like a fresh flower stuck in a pile of cow dung, I didn't care. But the moment he and our daughter got the system, their first thought was to use me up completely. The hatred from my past life completely extinguished all my feelings for him, so when I scold him, I have no psychological burden. My daughter looked up in surprise. She seemed unable to believe that her usually gentle mother would speak in such a tone, but soon tears streamed down her face again. "Mom, please, just eat this candy. If you eat it, I can become beautiful. Then I can be just like you, and I'll never be laughed at again. Mom, don't you want what's best for me? You love me the most." After all, listening to her words, I sneered inwardly. Yes, I do love my daughter the most. During her school years, she was often mocked and bullied by classmates because she wasn't considered good-looking. I went to the school and made a scene, once, twice, 3 times if necessary, until the school had no choice but to pay close attention to my daughter's situation. Later, no one would insult or mock her to her face. To prevent her from developing low self-esteem, I studied countless methods and worked on building her up bit by bit. To be honest, at my age, I don't care about external appearance anymore. I would willingly give it to my own daughter. But how did she treat me after taking my looks? She mocked me for being too ugly, saying I was her disgrace. Such a daughter, calling her an animal wouldn't be an overstatement. Looking at my daughter's hopeful eyes, I smiled gently and said, "Jeja, Do you really want to become like Mom? My daughter immediately nodded vigorously, her breathing quickening with excitement. Under her excited gaze, I took the white rabbit milk candy from her. All right, although I don't believe this candy can transfer my appearance to you, I'm willing to eat it to fulfill your wish. My daughter immediately burst into tears of joy and nodded repeatedly. My husband beside me also breathed a sigh of relief. But, Mom wants to look beautiful one last time. Wait here for me. With that, I ignored her and turned to enter the room. 03. I entered the room and locked the door from the inside. Leaning against the door, my eyes were red and swollen, tears kept streaming down, but I had to suppress my sobs with all my might. After a while, I finally wiped away my tears, and an intense coldness flashed in my eyes. The resentment and humiliation from my past life had long extinguished the last trace of emotion I held for that father and daughter. I walked to the bedside table, opened the drawer, and sure enough, there was still a white rabbit milk candy inside. I remembered casually tossing it in there. I immediately swapped the system candy my daughter gave me with it. After switching the candy, I walked to the wardrobe and picked out a dark green velvet cheongsam. This was bought by Suli last year on my birthday to please me, and it perfectly accentuates my figure. I vaguely remember in my previous life, after I became ugly, this dress was mockingly thrown into the trash by my daughter. I put on the cheongsam and carefully applied my makeup in front of the mirror. Willow leaf eyebrows, almond eyes, crimson lips. The reflection in the mirror showed a woman in her autumn years. Yet still retaining her charm, my expression suddenly twisted into a ferocious glare. You want my beauty, in your dreams. After finishing dressing up, I took a deep breath, pulled open the door, and walked out gracefully. In the living room, the anxiously waiting father and daughter looked up at the sound. Instantly, a tangible sense of amazement and greed flashed in their eyes. The daughter stared with wide eyes. She breathed rapidly, her face flushed with excitement as if she saw her future self. Her husband also swallowed hard, his eyes brimming with endless imagination. Mom, you're so beautiful, the daughter instinctively exclaimed in admiration, but then quickly changed the subject. Her voice carried an impatient urgency. Mom, where are your candies? Hurry up and eat them. After you eat them, your appearance will be like mine. Oh no, I mean, I'll be as beautiful as you. When we go out together, people will surely praise us as the most beautiful pair of sisters. She nearly slipped up in her excitement and hastily corrected herself. Suli immediately put on an apologetic expression, stepped forward, and tried to take my hand, but I gently avoided it. His expression unchanged. He said, Honey, I was in the wrong just now. I was too anxious and spoke too harshly. Please don't take it to heart. Look, our daughter is so sincere. Hurry up and eat the candy. Don't keep her waiting. He stared at me intently, as if he couldn't wait to shove the candy into my mouth. I sneered inwardly, but my expression remained unchanged. I opened my palm, and a white rabbit milk candy appeared in my hand. Then, under their tense gazes, I unwrapped the candy and placed the white piece into my mouth. Almost simultaneously, I clearly saw a gleam of wild joy burst forth in the eyes of the father and daughter. That was the excitement of a conspiracy coming to fruition. Oh yeah, Sujejia jumped up from the ground, and Suli also breathed a sigh of relief. Then, the way they looked at me began to change. The previous eagerness and desire to please had completely vanished. It was replaced by a distant coldness. Suli plopped down on the sofa. All right, you've had your candy. If you're fine, go cook. Why are you standing here swaying around? Sujejia, being young, couldn't even be bothered to pretend. She curled her lips, her small eyes scanning the cheapao I was wearing from head to toe, then sneered and squeezed out her chubby face. Mom, at your age, wearing such flashy clothes, aren't you afraid people will laugh at you? Hurry up and change it. It's an eyesore. Suli nodded in agreement. It's fine to wear it at home, but don't you dare wear it outside, or people will think you're trying to seduce men. The speed of their change in attitude was even more obvious than in my previous life. After all, in my previous life, I had straightforwardly eaten the candy. Now they're dragging their feet. Probably because I've worn their patience thin. I felt a bit like laughing. They thought they had me cornered. That's why they're acting so recklessly. Great, that's just perfect. I didn't say anything, just gave them a deep look, then turned and walked into the kitchen. The corners of his mouth curled into a cold, mocking smile. 04. The meal was utterly tasteless and unenjoyable, although the father and daughter tried their best to conceal it. Their excitement was almost palpable in their expressions. After finishing the meal, Sujejia was the first to stand up. A friend asked me to go shopping, so I'll head out first. I'll go out for a walk too, to help digest. Suli wiped his mouth and stood up. Just like that, the two of them went out one after the other. I also need to go out. After all, there's still a system candy to deal with. Holding the candy, I subconsciously made my way to a small park not far from home. A faint whimpering sound came from ahead. Looking closely, I saw it was a bald old dog that often roamed the area. It sheds a lot, with patches of white and black on its body, and its face is crooked and eyes are slanted. Fortunately, it is very healthy. At this moment, the old dog was wagging its tail and shaking its head at me, looking very ingratiating. I often feed this dog because I feel sorry for it, so it recognizes me. Seeing its appearance, a cold thought became clear. Suddenly, from a bench not far away came a familiar voice. "Dad, in just 1 month, I can transform into a stunning beauty." It was Sujejia, her voice trembling with excitement as she spoke. Suli was equally excited. "It definitely will. Since the system is bound, it's bound to succeed. The genes of our Su family are about to be completely transformed from this moment on." Sujejia nodded repeatedly. "We already agreed earlier. Mom's skin tone, figure, and 2/3 of her looks are mine. Look at her skin, still so smooth even in her 40s. And that waist-to-hip ratio." Suli waved his hand grandly, speaking with fervor. "I know, all that goes to you. I just want her height and 1/3 of her looks. That way, I'll appear more upright and manly. By then, she will surely be old and ugly. I'll drive her out of the house and bring your sister Wu Huan home. You don't have any objections, do you?" I must improve my looks immediately. If it weren't for the money I give her, your sister Wu Huan would have run away long ago." "I understand perfectly well. It's just that she dislikes my unattractive appearance." Sujejia sneered mockingly. "Dad, you're really an old cow eating young grass. I'll go along with whatever you say. I just want to be beautiful, as long as you're not stingy with money in the future." Suli immediately patted his chest and promised, "You're my own daughter. How could I ever treat you unfairly?" After their conversation, they went their separate ways. Only I was left under the tree shade, feeling cold all over. I was so angry that I gritted my teeth. "What a wonderful husband you are. So you've been cheating on me all along." I've met Wu Huan because she was brought home by my daughter for a meal. At that time, her identity was my daughter's best friend. At the time, I was very happy. My daughter, who had no friends growing up, actually had such a beautiful friend. Things were getting better and better. Turns out I was overthinking it. Wu Huan was actually my husband's mistress. She used her identity as my daughter's best friend to meet me, treating me like a fool. No wonder I felt her gaze was strange at the time. I don't think I'm any less attractive than Wu Huan. I just lost out because I'm not as young as her," I concluded. Most men who cheat tend to prefer the new and discard the old. No matter how ugly this man is, it's all the same. "And my dear daughter, it turns out you are so heartless and ungrateful. You only care about making yourself beautiful, but you don't care about the life or death of your own biological mother. Back when I married Suli, I brought back all the betrothal gifts, first gave birth to his child, and then fully supported him in starting a company when the company was just starting out. I leveraged my good looks to secure many business deals while always staying true to my principles and never letting him down. Later, as the company became stable, it wasn't a problem to earn around $1 million a year in our small town. To put Suli at ease, I stepped back from the front lines and focused on managing the household and raising our children. Little did I expect that in return, I would face their betrayal. Now I really feel I was incredibly foolish to only now see Suli's true nature. Because a person can be unattractive, but you can't be bad, you can't be ungrateful. Thinking of this, I no longer hesitated. Peeling open the system candy, I threw it at the bald dog without a second thought. The old dog opened its big mouth and swallowed the candy in one gulp. I felt a sense of satisfaction. "You like swapping appearances, do you? Well, I'll let you swap to your heart's content." 05. The change seemed to be happening quietly and unnoticed. As time slowly passed, one morning, I heard Sujejia shouting loudly. In the bathroom, Sujejia was laughing so hard she couldn't close her mouth. "I really have lost weight." I took a closer look, and indeed it was so. Her originally bloated figure deflated like a punctured ball. However, there was no trace of a youthful girl's grace. Instead, she appeared gaunt and bony, exactly like that mangy dog. At the same time, her hair was falling out in clumps. White spots have appeared on my face and arms. "My skin is starting to turn white too," Sujejia exclaimed excitedly, "but in my eyes, it clearly resembles the uneven fur color of a mangy old dog." Meanwhile, Suli's changes became even more bizarre. At first, he felt discomfort in his lower back and would often pat it with his hand. Occasionally, he would unconsciously get down on all fours to pick things up, but gradually, these occasional actions became frequent. He would unconsciously lie on the floor to watch TV, or stretch his body like a dog. Only when he suddenly noticed my gaze would he awkwardly cough a couple of times and sheepishly sit back on the sofa. Recently, I've had a herniated disc, and this feels more comfortable. His height also seemed to have genuinely shrunk. After all, that old bald dog was quite short. He was already not very tall, and now he looks even shorter. I always hear him muttering to himself, "He must be preparing to grow taller. Just endure it. Woof woof woof." To be honest, The last few barks startled me a bit. The most chilling aspect was the change in their facial features. Sujejia's small eyes began to droop slightly at the corners. The distance between her eyes also seemed to have widened considerably. Combined with the white patches appearing on her face and her thinning hair, there was a faintly discernible canine-like simplicity and foolishness about her. Sully was even more so. The corner of his mouth began to slant to the right, his eyelids drooped heavily, making his entire face appear increasingly asymmetrical, giving off the look of a balding old dog. When they looked in the mirror, they would be stunned for a long time, but it all comes down to embracing the darkness before the dawn, and I, in turn, played along with their scheme. I stopped dressing up carefully, wore old clothes, deliberately made my hair look frizzy, and even used makeup to create dark circles and wrinkles on my face. I looked tired, haggard, and had lost my former charm. They saw it with their own eyes, and their joy was evident. Their attitude towards me became even worse. "Ugly freak, you're blocking my light." Sujejia would impatiently push me away while I was wiping the table. "Tisk, look at that face of yours, it's really off-putting." Sully would mock me while eating, as if one more glance would contaminate his eyes. I endured it all, keeping my head down, playing the part of a helpless woman who was losing everything. Only when I returned to my room, locked the door, and looked at my still beautiful face in the mirror would I reveal a cold, expectant smile, endure a moment of humiliation, and watch a good show. I can wait. One evening, I felt a sudden impulse to visit the old bald dog. Seeing its appearance again gave me a great shock. The bald patches on its body have almost completely disappeared, replaced by a coat of healthy, glossy short fur. Its physique has become much stronger, and it now carries an impressively majestic aura. I crouched down and gently stroked its head. It closed its eyes comfortably, looking content. My eyes lit up. "It seems the appearance replacement is going smoothly." 06, day by day passed. The changes in the father and daughter continued. Sujejia's hair had almost completely fallen out. The scalp is so sparse that large areas are visible, exactly like the state of the old bald dog before. The white spots on her face and her original black skin are clearly distinct, looking somewhat disgusting. She began to feel a bit afraid to look in the mirror, always muttering to herself, "Soon, very soon, it will be fine once it's completely replaced." Suliza almost gave up the habit of walking upright. At home, he spends most of his time crawling on all fours, his movements becoming increasingly skilled and natural. His height has noticeably decreased, and clothes that once fit him now hang loosely. The corner of his mouth has become increasingly crooked, his eyelids droop, and his entire face looks quite comical. He even instinctively sniffs his food before taking a bite while eating, because his change was too obvious. For a while, he didn't dare to go to the company and asked me to go in his place. He only occasionally left the house. I knew exactly where he had gone. Apart from Wu Huan's place, I couldn't think of a second destination. Returning to the company once again, I must certainly seize this opportunity well. The few remaining senior employees at the company were very happy to see me return. After all, it was I who had led them to grow and stabilize the company in the past. In their eyes, Sully is capable of maintaining the status quo, but his ability to expand the business is rather mediocre, which is why the company has remained stagnant for nearly 20 years. I am trying hard to familiarize myself with the company's business, because I have a vague premonition, if Sully continues like this, something is bound to go wrong. Just as I suspected, one night, while I was working overtime at the company, a phone call came out of the blue. I picked up the phone. It was the police station calling. "Are you a family member of Sully? He has been detained on suspicion of intentional assault. Could you please come to the station?" My eyes lit up, and I hurried to the police station. After learning the details of the incident, I almost burst out laughing on the spot but had to hold it back with great effort. It turns out that Sully had sneaked off again today to have a secret rendezvous with Wu Huan. While they were being intimate, Sully actually bit Wu Huan on the face, tearing off a large chunk of flesh. Wu Huan screamed in agony on the spot, with blood gushing out profusely. Hotel staff called the police, and Sully was caught on the spot. He was extremely excited at the time, and even when the police arrived, he was still making fierce barking sounds. Facing the police's questioning, I acted like a pitiful wife who had been betrayed by her husband and then encountered an unexpected disaster. My face was pale, my eyes were fearful, and my voice trembled. "Officer, I really didn't know he would do something like this. Lately, he has been acting strange, always barking like a dog, crawling on the ground. I thought it was due to work stress, but I never expected him to cheat, and even bite someone." I covered my face, hiding my smile, and desperately squeezed out a few tears. "I am willing to compensate the victim. Just handle it as it should be handled. I trust the law, my reasonableness, and tragic circumstances." Won the unanimous sympathy of the police officers. Their gazes were filled with pity as they comforted me, urging me not to be too upset. After handling the formalities, I immediately rushed to the hospital. In the hospital room, Wu Huan's face was wrapped in thick bandages as she cried and screamed hysterically. When she saw me come in, it was as if she had found an outlet for her emotions. She grabbed the water cup from the bedside and threw it at me. Her voice sounded strange and breathy because of the injury to her face. Get out, your whole family is insane and perverted. That bastard Suli, he actually bit me, my face is ruined. Wah, her words were incoherent, filled with despair and resentment. It's all your fault, you old hag, you couldn't even control your own man, you let him come out and seduce me. I hope you all die a horrible death. I nimbly dodged the water cup. Miss Wu, I'm sorry, I'm truly sorry. I never expected him to become like this. I will take full responsibility for the medical expenses, follow-up treatment costs, and compensation for emotional distress. Please make sure to focus on your recovery. While apologizing, I didn't bother to conceal the smile on my face. In her eyes, it was like adding fuel to the fire. Wu Huan trembled with rage, pointing at me and cursing loudly. Compensate? How could you possibly afford to compensate? Do you even know how much my face is worth? Get out, I don't want to see anyone from the Su family, get out. I shrugged indifferently and left the hospital room. Wu Huan was so angry that she burst into another fit of wailing. Well done, Su Li, this bite not only confirms your affair but also turns you into a violent lunatic. It's not too much for me to sue for divorce, is it? Compensation, of course, I will compensate. I will compensate exactly as the law dictates. I have substantial wealth, so as long as I don't go bankrupt, I don't care. What does it matter if I compensate Wu Huan $1 million for her face? She will spend the rest of her life hiding in dark corners, unable to face the world. Isn't this the perfect punishment for seducing a married man? Ever since I threw that piece of candy to the dog, things seem to be moving in an increasingly perfect direction. It's really great. Of course, there's still a daughter waiting for me at home. Thinking of this, I smiled faintly and walked home with light steps. 07. When I arrived home, at first glance, I saw Su Jejia lying on all fours in the living room. Not only that, but she was also holding a mirror. Her expression shifted from joy to fear, and then to confusion, and I immediately put on a tearful expression. Jejia, your father is in trouble. He bit someone and tore a piece of flesh off Wu Huan's face. He's been arrested by the police now, and it turns out your father has been cheating on us for a long time. Sobbing, what? Bit someone? Su Jejia murmured to herself. The next moment, her face turned deathly pale. She had also noticed her father's unusual behavior, because recently, I've also had the urge to bite someone. It's just not as strong as Dad's. In my view, they each get what they need, so what they exchange is different. The changes in my daughter's appearance are even more pronounced. The news of her father biting someone instantly shattered her self-deceptive defenses. No, impossible. She threw down the small mirror in her hand and rushed to the bathroom. Su Jejia lunged toward the sink, widening her eyes to stare at her reflection in the mirror. In the mirror, what a bizarre face was staring back. Sparse hair clung to the scalp, with skin tone alternating between black and white, resembling a skin disease. The eyes were widely spaced, the corners drooping, and the lips slightly parted like a dog's, revealing a glimpse of teeth. Trembling with fear, she instinctively let out a bark. A piercing scream almost pierced my eardrums. Su Jejia fell to the ground with a thud, trembling all over like a sieve. It doesn't look like, not at all. It's the mirror. There's something wrong with the mirror. The lighting, yes, and the lighting is too dim. It's the system. The system is transforming me. This is a necessary process. She seemed to have grabbed onto a lifeline, her voice growing louder. Losing hair means it's growing back new, the skin changing is detoxification, and the eyes are like this to become bigger and more spirited later. Yes, it must be this way. Of course, I wouldn't let her off, my voice trembling with tears. Jejia, what's really going on? How did you become like this? Didn't you say that if Mom ate the candy, you would become more and more beautiful? How did you end up looking more and more like Wowu? And your father, how did he become like a dog? And even bite people? I helped her say the word dog, completely shattering her self-deception. Su Jejia's tears poured out as she shook her head frantically. Dad bit someone. It must have been that bitch Wu Huan who provoked him. Yes, it's her fault. It has nothing to do with my dad. Once we become beautiful, everything will be fine. 3 more days. 3 days later it will be a full month. By then, I will be as beautiful as you. Su Jejia fell asleep amidst fear and anticipation. I moved her to the bed and thoughtfully covered her with the blanket. I gave her a cold glance and returned to my room. Looking at my still beautiful self in the mirror, I showed a big smile. What will her expression be like 3 days later? I'm looking forward to it too. 08. Su Jejia didn't eat or drink for 3 days. Every day, she just stared at the mirror, focusing on her changes. However, there wasn't the slightest sign of her face becoming more beautiful. The 3 days passed quickly. At midnight on this day, I heard her screaming frantically, "Liar, you're a liar, system. What do you mean the appearance replacement was successful? Why am I getting uglier? Woof, liar." I came to her room. Her grotesque, terrifying half-human, half-dog face was staring fixedly at me with bloodshot pupils. "Why? Why haven't you changed? Why are you still so beautiful?" Tears welled up in my eyes, overflowing with a motherly love. "Jia, what on earth happened? Were you tricked by some system? How did you end up like this? Tell Mom. Mom will help you." As soon as these words were spoken, it was as if a single word had awakened a dreamer. She nodded frantically. Yes, you're right, Mom. It must be the system that tricked me. You clearly ate that candy. The system is deceiving me. It's deceiving me, this damn system. Woof woof woof. I took a deep breath, suppressing the laughter that was about to burst out on my face. I walked over and held her in my arms. "Jia, don't be afraid. Mom will take you for plastic surgery, head to toe, to make you the most beautiful girl in the world." Jia's eyes instantly sparkled with extreme delight. Woof woof woof. Plastic surgery. Yes, take me, quickly take me. 09. I fulfilled my promise to Jia. I took her to the best plastic surgery hospital in the country. She held the mirror, pointed at her own face, and hysterically demanded, "Change everything, face, chest, hips, everywhere. I want to become the most beautiful." I acted like a doting mother, signing the exorbitant bill without hesitation. As long as my Jia can be happy and regain her confidence, Mom is willing to spend any amount of money. The surgery was complex, and the recovery period was also very long. Jia endured immense pain, but her eyes were always burning with the anticipation of becoming beautiful. During this time, her husband Suli was sent to the hospital for examination. He wasn't diagnosed with rabies, but was instead determined to have a mental illness. This was because he kept barking like a dog and saying things like, "The system is deceiving people." In the end, he was directly sent to a mental hospital by the police. I successfully divorced him and felt completely relieved. My daughter's recovery period has finally ended. As the bandages were removed layer by layer, Jia looked at herself in the mirror and let out a nearly hysterical laugh. European-style double eyelids, a high and straight nose bridge, full lips, and a perfect figure with curves in all the right places. "I did it. I finally became beautiful. I knew it. I knew I would succeed." She caressed her own cheeks, completely immersed and unable to pull herself away. I brought her home and became increasingly indulgent with her. Luxury cars, designer handbags, she bought them all for her. Jia was quickly swept away by it all. Rich, beautiful, and elegant became her label, her persona. She opened a Douyin account and started obsessively taking selfies every day, while attracting the envy of countless people. She also drew many accusations of having a fake face. Every time Jia saw such skeptical comments, she would bristle like a cat and tirelessly fire back with fierce retorts. I could see that, in her obsession with beauty, she had already reached a state where she had successfully deceived herself. Soon, at an upscale party, she unexpectedly encountered her wealthy ex-boyfriend from a past life, Lise. I have to say, these two are truly destined for each other, in this life. She possesses an internet-famous face that aligns even more with Lise's aesthetic preferences than in her previous life. Without hesitation, Lise launched a passionate pursuit of her. Jia, overwhelmed with pride, quickly moved in with Lise. However, a false facade will eventually reveal its flaws. One late night, my phone rang. It was Jia calling. Her voice came through the phone, filled with sobs and screams. "Mom, save me. Come save me quickly. Lise is going to beat me to death. Woo-woo, woof-woof." I immediately drove to the upscale apartment where they lived together. The door was ajar, and the inside was in complete disarray. As soon as I reached the door, I heard Lise's furious roar. "Jia, you monster, you liar, a creature made entirely of silicone and implants. It feels disgusting to touch, and what's with your weird habits? You bark when you're happy, you bark when you're unhappy, and you even like to bite people. Are you a dog? Get out, get the hell away from me. Just seeing your fake face makes me want to vomit, you worthless piece of trash." Immediately after, the dull thuds of flesh being struck and Jia's piercing screams followed. I pushed the door open, and a shocking scene met my eyes. Jia was curled up in the corner, her once delicate face swollen beyond recognition, with a crooked nose bridge and a split lip. Even more terrifying, her chest had collapsed in an unnatural shape, and the buttock implants seemed to have shifted. The entire person appeared to be in a completely shattered state. Su Jie was still lying on the ground with her mouth open, looking as if she was ready to bite someone. Li Zhe, his face flushed with anger, was waving his fist nearby. "You bitch, how dare you bite me? I'll make you pay." "Stop it," I shouted sternly. "Li Zhe, how could you hit someone?" Li Zhe saw me, his anger not yet subsided, and he pointed at Su Jie, cursing furiously. "Auntie, you came just in time. Look at what your daughter is. There's not a single real thing about her from head to toe. And she's a lunatic who likes to bark like a dog and bite people, and she still wants to marry me." I spit on that. "I heard her father also bit someone and ended up in a mental hospital. TSK, it really runs in the family." After saying this, he viciously kicked Su Jie to the ground and then strode away. I looked down at Su Jie lying on the ground, barely alive. Her eyes were unfocused, filled with pain and despair. The excruciating pain from the ruptured implant. The vicious words from her boyfriend shattered her illusory charm completely. A cold smile curled at the corner of my lips, exactly like the one on my daughter's face in my previous life after I was hit by a car. I called the police and had Li Zhe taken to the police station. I also called an ambulance for my daughter. 10. The doctor told me with a grave expression. Su Jie's nasal bridge implant is fractured and needs to be removed. The implants in the buttocks and breasts have ruptured, causing internal infection in the body. The subsequent treatment will be very long and painful. After the surgery, Su Jie lay on the bed, letting out painful groans as she endured the stinging pain after the anesthesia. I looked at her, knowing that everything was about to end, and brought my mouth close to her ear. "Su Jie, let me tell you a secret." She seemed to sense something and looked at me with a dazed expression. I outlined my red lips and said, "Actually, I fed that candy to a dog." In an instant, Su Jie's eyes turned bloodshot, staring at me as if she wanted to tear me apart. In the end, she fainted from sheer anger. Su Jie ultimately couldn't endure the long and arduous treatment and recovery process. He leaped from the hospital's high-rise, ending his remaining life. And I adopted that old dog with its glossy, sleek fur. From now on, I'll shine all on my own. The end. That concludes the first story. Stay tuned, the next one is even more exciting. I won $200 in the lottery and decided to share half with my best friend, so she could be happy too. She pressed me about how much I had actually won. I jokingly said 5 million. Unexpectedly, she pursed her lips and complained, "You're not married and don't have children. What do you need so much money for? I'm divorced and raising a son, and I really need the money. Why don't you give me an extra 2 million? You can keep 500,000 for yourself. Isn't that enough? After all, you still get a monthly salary of 10,000 yuan. I was so furious that I kicked the mother and son out of my house that very day, but they were after my money. And after forcing me to reveal my bank card password, they cruelly killed me. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day I won the lottery and decided to split the prize with my best friend. 1. You just said you had some good news to tell me. My best friend Tan Jing waved her hand in front of my face. Her son, Xiao Jia, looked at me impatiently. "Auntie, I'm hungry. Go buy me a lobster." I snapped back to reality, realizing that I had actually been reborn. Looking at the mother and son in front of me, I could barely resist the urge to strangle them right then and there. In my previous life, Tan Jing was divorced after being abused by her husband. In order to win custody of the child, she voluntarily left the marriage with no assets. I felt sorry for her because she couldn't find a job and had no money to support her child, so I took her into my home under the guise of hiring her as my nanny, paying her 4,000 yuan per month. But in reality, she often used taking care of the child as an excuse and did nothing at home, even sending me payment links for her lunch. We grew up together and have always had a good relationship, so I didn't mind too much. On weekends when I had time, I would clean the house myself and take them out for meals to improve their diet. Even when I won the lottery, my first thought was to share half of it with them, so they could also enjoy the happiness of winning, but I never expected that both of them were nothing but ungrateful wolves who could never be tamed. In order to get all of my prize money, they heartlessly killed me. Afterward, they even pretended to be victims, evaded legal punishment, and lived freely with my money. Given a second chance at life, I will never let them get their way again. I cleared my throat lightly, suppressing the overwhelming hatred in my eyes, and pretended to be in a difficult situation. Actually, it's because my mom is coming to stay for a few days. I haven't seen her in a long time, so you and Xiao Jia should move out temporarily during this period. Tan Jing immediately started shouting upon hearing this, "Just don't let your mom come. There are only 2 bedrooms in this house. There's no place for her to stay," as if the house belonged to her. My expression turned a bit colder. "I haven't seen my mom in a long time. You should move out first. Once she leaves, I'll bring you both back home." Tan Jing snorted coldly, her tone still carrying a hint of grievance. "Where would I get the money to stay in a hotel? How about you book it for me? If it weren't for your mom suddenly coming, I wouldn't have to waste this money. I was so angry I almost slapped her. I give you $4,000 every month, and you don't have to pay for any living expenses. Now you're telling me you have no money. Tanjing became even more worked up. Raising a child doesn't cost money. Do you think Xiaojia's tuition fees are paid by you? He's not my child. Why should I pay for his schooling? I've completely run out of patience, since she won't leave. I'll just throw all their things out myself. The moment Tanjing saw me touching her things, she let out a frightened scream and immediately pushed me aside. My instincts told me something was wrong. Following her furtive gaze, I suddenly pulled open the drawer and immediately spotted the bracelet I thought I had accidentally lost last month. Tanjing avoided eye contact. I found this. Give it back to me right now. Xiaojia also came over to push me. Don't touch my mom's things. You're a bad person, I'll beat you to death. Tanjing still didn't want to break up with me completely. She quickly pulled Xiaojia behind her and spoke to me gently. We've been such good friends for so many years. You can't just abandon me. If you drive me away, people will definitely criticize you behind your back. I'm only thinking of your best interests. I was so angry I almost laughed, pointing at the bracelet. I showed no kindness on my face. Let me ask you one more time. Did you steal this bracelet? No. Tanjing burst into tears with a loud wail, endlessly pouring out her grievances while also trying to guilt-trip me into letting her continue living in my house for free. I ignored her and called the police directly. Even when the police arrived, she stubbornly refused to admit anything until I showed the receipt, which completely broke her defenses. She packed her things and moved out of my house while crying. Xiaojia's shifty eyes were fixed intently on me. I instantly felt a chill run through my entire body. In my previous life, it was with that same look that Xiaojia held a knife to my neck, forcing me to reveal my bank card password. I refused to the death, so he actually used the blade to slice my skin piece by piece. In order to avoid drawing attention, Tanjing even found a rag and stuffed it into my mouth. The pain was so intense that I passed out several times, and to save my life, I had no choice but to beg for mercy repeatedly. But taking all my savings wasn't enough for them. Fearing that I might disrupt their carefree life after striking it rich, they actually slit my throat with a single cut. Afterward, my soul drifted in the air, and I watched as they worked together to chop up my body and flush it down the sewer. Xiaojia's viciousness far exceeded my imagination, but this actually allows me to take revenge without holding back. If such a little devil isn't punished early, they will undoubtedly grow up to become an even greater menace. Once they move away, I will contact the media reporters and have them help me put on a show. Soon, the video of me coming out of the award center was heavily hyped, with a striking headline that read, "Congratulations to the winner of the 200 million yuan jackpot." That evening, Tanjing organized a class reunion and had the class monitor send me an invitation. I agreed without hesitation. I was determined to attend this Hongmen banquet. The moment I appeared, Tanjing took the initiative to link arms with me and tried to get chummy. She even picked out a necklace that looked quite expensive and gave it to me. But I clearly remembered seeing that very item from the live stream she often watched, and the total price was no more than 20, yet she claimed it was worth $2,000. As she saw me off, she poured out her troubles. "Back when I was still married, you made a lot of money investing with my husband. Now that I'm divorced, I never thought our relationship would become so distant. I don't want to lose a good friend like you." The class monitor watched with envy, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "Xiaojing is going through such a hard time and still thinks of giving you a gift, yet you're being so snobbish. Could it be that you're interested in her husband and weren't genuinely friends with Xiaojing in the first place?" Tanjing quickly spoke up for me. "Qingqing definitely isn't that kind of person, although she used to be in frequent contact with my ex-husband. She also helped me a lot during my divorce. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to leave so cleanly and smoothly." The classmates were immediately swayed by her words, thinking I had ulterior motives, that I had deliberately encouraged Tanjing to divorce so I could take her place as the other woman. One by one, the way they looked at me completely changed. Tanjing became even more smug. "Qingqing, although I'm currently penniless, I still cherish the friendship between us. Would you be willing to take me in for a few days? I promise that once I get through this difficult time, I will repay you double." 3. Faced with the chatter of those around who didn't know the truth, I remained very calm. "Tanjing, you're not trying to say that I have feelings for your husband, the one who's abusive and insists you leave with nothing before agreeing to a divorce, are you?" My words immediately hit Tanjing's sore spot, and her face instantly changed. The class monitor smelled gossip and quickly pressed, "Your husband actually committed domestic violence," Tanjing flatly denied. "Qingqing, you're going too far. Even if you dislike me, you can't just spread rumors about me. I got divorced because of emotional incompatibility, not because of domestic violence." I raised an eyebrow and pulled out a police receipt. "Did you forget that time you were a victim of domestic violence and called me for help? I helped you call the police." But afterward, when the police were about to arrest your husband, you stopped them, saying the family couldn't survive without his income, or else you and Xiaojia would have nothing to eat. Tanjing reached up to snatch the receipt and tear it up. With a twist of my wrist, I slipped it into the monitor's outstretched palm. She has been a fence-sitter since our school days. I knew she wasn't genuinely trying to help Tanjing oppose me, so I felt at ease giving her the receipt. That kind of person, she definitely wouldn't be able to resist helping me blow things out of proportion. Sure enough, upon seeing the words domestic violence and emotional dispute written in black and white, the class monitor actually seemed to take pleasure in her misfortune. Tanjing, why didn't you tell your classmates about such a big matter earlier? If you had spoken up sooner, I would have definitely helped you call the police. Tanjing was so ashamed and angry she wished she could die. She regarded domestic violence as a stain on her life, something she wouldn't even discuss herself. No matter who asked, she would cover it up by saying it was due to a broken relationship. I had advised her in my previous life not to voluntarily cover up for that beast. Being a victim of domestic violence is not something to be ashamed of. It's the perpetrator who should be condemned by everyone. Yet she kept insisting that although her husband was abusive, he was usually very good to her. Now that they are divorced, she didn't want to take things too far, which is why she remained tight-lipped. I respected her decision, so I never said a word to anyone else, but I never expected that she would use her husband as an excuse to discuss me, just to pressure me into agreeing to let her move back in. Then don't blame me for exposing everything. Looking at the necklace she gave me, I offered to pay the full price. The class monitor then picked up her phone. It's not easy for you to raise a child alone. Since Qingqing offered to pay, don't be shy. Quickly open the order page and let Qingqing transfer the money to you. Tanjing snatched her phone back immediately. No need. This is a gift from me. How could I accept your money? I offered to pay 3 times the price. Tanjing's heart skipped a beat in an instant. The moment her eyes darted, I knew she was trying to find some random payment record to scam me out of my money. I let her rummage through her things while quietly turning on the projector in the private room and clicking the connect button. Tanjing was so immersed in editing her photos that she accidentally tapped the confirm button. The next second, her purchase record appeared on the big screen, a green jade bracelet, $12.80. But with Tanjing's masterful photo editing skills, the number was instantly changed to $2,200. She handed me her phone with restraint, showing me the specific amount. Thank you for being willing to help me like this. I will definitely repay you in the future. For everyone in the private room couldn't hold back their laughter. Tanjing was initially confused and kept trying to get money from me in various ways, even wanting to snatch my phone to transfer the 6,000 yuan herself. But she quickly noticed the awkward atmosphere. Following everyone's gaze, she finally saw what was on the big screen. Her face instantly flushed bright red, and in a fit of shame and anger, she flipped the table over. You fucking set me up. I shook my head in amusement. You were the one blinded by greed. Do I look like a fool to you? You want to sell me a piece of junk you bought for $12 for 6,000. Tanjing could no longer bear the ridicule from the crowd, covering her face. She ran off, sobbing bitterly. I knew she definitely wouldn't let it go. In her previous life, just 5 million was enough to make her kill someone. In this life, with the temptation of 200 million, how could she possibly let go so easily? Thinking of this, I took the initiative to call my mother, whom I hadn't been in touch with for years, and invited her to stay at my place for a while. I also openly admitted that I had won the lottery. However, no matter how much she asked, I never revealed the exact amount. My mother arrived at my house early the next morning, carrying large and small bags. The moment she saw me, her face crinkled into a smile. Qingqing, I always knew you would achieve great things someday. I smiled without saying a word and warmly settled her into the room Tanjing used to occupy. The harmonious atmosphere between mother and daughter lasted only half a day before my mom began subtly probing for the exact amount of my lottery winnings. Mysteriously, I hinted at the matter concerning Tanjing. My best friend found out I won the lottery and is now pestering me for money, so I don't dare say exactly how much I won. Mom, you have to help me get rid of her. My mom agreed immediately and even cursed Tanjing a few times under her breath. In the afternoon, I pretended to take a nap and secretly overheard my mom quietly calling my brother. With that video as evidence, my brother easily found out that I had won 200 million. My mother's eyes immediately lit up, and she started discussing with my brother how to spend the money. I buried my head deep in the cushion, laughing so hard my shoulders were shaking. In my previous life, after Tanjing personally killed me, my mother's first reaction wasn't to call the police to seek justice for me, but to search everywhere for my bank cards. Later, they confronted Tan Jing, threatening to report her to the police unless she coughed up 200,000 yuan, all of which was used to buy my brother an apartment. My brother and sister-in-law moved into a big house and couldn't stop smiling all day, but my soul hovers in midair, never finding peace. In this lifetime, I won't let them have it easy either. The next day, my sister-in-law came to cozy up to me and even brought me many gifts. Ching, I know you love eating crabs. These are specially bought hairy crabs. They cost 50 yuan each. I didn't even buy them for your nephew because I couldn't bear to spend that much. My mother cheerfully praised my sister-in-law for being generous and virtuous. The two of them took over the kitchen, determined to cook me a delicious meal. I lay on the sofa feeling pleased, pretending to take a call from my company's boss and using a business trip as an excuse to be away for a few days. My mother looked worried, and I knew she was concerned that she wouldn't be able to control me while I was away, so I simply assured her that after I returned, I would come clean about the bonus. My mother smiled and sent me off, already eagerly waiting for me to bring back the money so she could use it all to buy a house for my brother. My sister-in-law also started fantasizing about her soon-to-be wealthy life, even posting several photos of luxury items in her social media feed. The captions read, "Wait for me, my darlings, I'll bring you home soon." The comment section was filled with flattering remarks from relatives, asking if my brother had struck it rich. My sister-in-law proudly showed off her wealth to them. I took the opportunity to screenshot it and posted a WeChat Moments update visible only to Tan Jing. I'm giving all the bonus money to my brother and sister-in-law. As long as my sister-in-law is happy, I'm happy. Family bonds are more important than anything. 5. I went to a hotel to get a room and sleep. Within 3 days, I received an urgent phone call from my brother. He was just as usual, immediately lashing out at me. "You worthless piece of trash. What did you do to your sister-in-law? I'm telling you, she's pregnant with my son. If anything happens to her, I'll make sure you pay with your life." I pretended to be innocent, widening my eyes. "I haven't been home. There are only 2 rooms at home. Since mom and sister-in-law came, I've been staying at a hotel the whole time. They haven't contacted me during this period." My brother was left speechless, cursed a few more times, and then hung up the phone. Shortly after, the police came to my room and questioned me about my whereabouts over the past few days as part of their routine investigation. I told the truth to put the police at ease. They finally decided to tell me the truth. It turned out that my sister-in-law and my mother had been missing for a whole day and night. My brother couldn't get in touch with them, so he reported it to the police. I cried directly out of worry. The police quickly calmed me down, telling me to pay attention to my safety during this time and to contact them promptly if I had any clues. I agreed repeatedly. After seeing the police off, I laughed and rolled around on the bed by myself. Those beasts Tan Jing and Xiao Jia have finally made their move. The thought that all the suffering I endured is now being repaid to my sister-in-law and my mother makes me want to pop open a bottle of champagne to celebrate. But now is not the time for me to let my guard down. The next day, my brother cornered me at the entrance of my company, demanding an explanation, before he could shout and try to pin everything on me. I cried even louder than he did. I'm also very anxious about mom and sister-in-law's disappearance, but I can't just skip work. The police will definitely find a way. Brother, putting pressure on me won't help. My brother, frustrated and angry, had to give up on using public opinion to pressure me. He pulled me aside and started making meaningful expressions at me. "What's the use of relying solely on the police? Hurry up and take out the prize money so I can hire people to help search for mom and your sister-in-law." I blinked my eyes, looking completely innocent. "Brother, the little money I won from the lottery probably isn't enough for you to spend on hiring people. After all, I only actually won $200. My brother impatiently clenched his fist. "Cut the nonsense. I already know. You won 200 million. First, take out 1 million so I can go save someone. The rest will be distributed by mom when she gets back." I sneered inwardly. I'm afraid that with my mom's favoritism toward boys, she would break every penny into pieces just to spend it on my brother. Besides, I'm the one who won the prize. Why does he think I would share it with him? But I pretended to be shocked on the surface. "Bro, who told you I won 200 million? My brother looked smug. "There's already a news report online with a video of you claiming the 200 million prize. Don't take me for a fool. Hand over the money now. And if I'm in a good mood, I might even give you a few thousand back. Otherwise, I'll tell everyone that you abandoned your own mother for money. Once the public opinion turns against you, you won't be able to spend that money even if you have it." I trembled with fear, barely managing to squeeze out a few tears. "But, bro, I really didn't win that much money." My brother didn't believe me at all and only grew more furious. "Are you going to give me the money or not?" 6. No matter how he pressed me, I played dumb and insisted that I hadn't won the 200 million. My brother eventually lost his patience, threatened to make me pay, and stormed off. Back at the hotel, I laughed uncontrollably. Right at that moment, the police called, claiming there were new developments in the investigation. By the time I arrived, I could already hear my brother wailing in the morgue. I squeezed out a few tears and wept over my mother's body. My brother pushed me away, accusing me of causing the deaths of my mother and sister-in-law. If it weren't for the police holding him back, he would have beaten me up like he used to. From the moment I was born, my family labeled me as a burden. My family is a typical example of favoring sons over daughters. My father never allowed me to eat at the table, and at the slightest displeasure, he would beat and scold me relentlessly. If it weren't for the neighbors and protecting me, I probably would have been beaten to death by him. And my mother always stood by indifferently, ignoring all my pleas for help. My brother even instigated school bullies to harass me. I was often beaten black and blue, and rumors were spread about my chaotic private life, causing many relatives to avoid me. Even now, I still bear the scars from those brutal beatings, which will never fade. After 9 years of compulsory education, my family stopped funding my schooling. It was through my own hard work and part-time jobs that I managed to complete college. My mother and brother originally wanted to suck me dry, but after I repeatedly pleaded poverty and made a scene, they finally gave up and cut off contact with me. I never expected my mother to take the bait so easily this time. It's all her own fault for being too greedy for money. I just went along with her by saying, a woman can't be without her natal family, and she took it at face value, convinced that I had realized my mistakes, and boldly moved into my home. The police initially suspected me as well, but I had a solid alibi. I had dinner out with colleagues every night during those days. When my mother and sister-in-law went missing, the surveillance footage was my best evidence. In the end, they finally traced it back to Tianjin. Just thinking about it makes me laugh. In my previous life, when I died, there wasn't even anyone to report it to the police. All my relatives were focused on dividing the money, and as soon as my mom went missing, my brother became extremely anxious. They are the ones with the deep mother-son bond. I will always be an outsider. If I can't get money from my mom, Tianjin will definitely come after me again. I've been with my colleagues all this time and have hardly been alone. I'm waiting for my brother to give me an opportunity to drag him down too. Sure enough, he didn't let me down. He went all out for 200 million, writing lengthy posts online, furiously denouncing me as a miser and an unfilial daughter, claiming that if I had been willing to pay, our mother would not have died an unnatural death. He also hired a large number of internet trolls to tarnish my reputation. A huge number of online bystanders were stirred up and flocked to my account to criticize me. Many rational netizens pointed out the flaws in my brother's logic, but their voices were ultimately drowned out by the overwhelming flood of troll comments. He exposed my address, incited a group of people to smash my windows, and caused trouble at the entrance of my company. My supervisor advised me to call the police. Instead, I knelt down in front of everyone and apologized to those people, begging them to let me go. I even offered to make up for my mistake by handing over that lottery ticket, allowing my brother to receive the full amount of my winnings. My brother was overjoyed, thinking his cunning plan had succeeded, and came to my house that very day to ask me for the money. I told him that I hadn't actually had the chance to claim the prize yet. My brother immediately excitedly said that he could go collect the money himself. I recorded a video, personally handed the lottery ticket to my brother, and then posted it online as proof, without saying a single extra word. 7. But I waited and waited, yet there was no news of my brother having an accident. Upon asking, I found out that my brother had been busy handling the aftermath for my mother and sister-in-law, which was why he hadn't had time to claim the prize. Thinking that I had finally avenged half of my past life's grievances, I couldn't help myself. I drank too much at a gathering with colleagues, and by the end, I was staggering as I walked. A colleague offered to take me home. I shook my head in refusal, got into a taxi alone, and gave the address of my new home, but the scenery outside the window grew increasingly remote. I suddenly sobered up and realized this road was completely opposite to the direction of my home. I instinctively wanted to call the police, but the driver had already pulled over on a secluded path. He saw through my intention, got out of the car, rushed into the back seat, and held a knife to my neck, threatening, "If you dare call the police, I'll make sure you die without a whole body right now." I kept begging for mercy, watching helplessly as he snatched my phone away. He then demanded the passcode to unlock the screen, found my brother in the contacts, and sent him a message, "Bring 50 million in ransom, or we'll kill the hostage." My brother took one look at the message and immediately blocked me. The man couldn't get through to my brother, and in his anger, he smashed my phone directly. It was only by the faint light from the screen just now that I could clearly see the man's face. It turned out to be Tan Jing's ex-husband, Wang Hu. This couple really are birds of a feather. They all use kidnapping as a way to extort money. I just don't know if Wang Hu will be as vicious as Tan Jing, not satisfied with just taking the money, but also plotting to kill for more. I cleared my throat, trying my best to stay calm. Brother, killing me won't get you any money, and you'll just end up with a murder charge for nothing. Why not let me go? I promise I won't call the police. Wang Hu gave a nasty laugh. And the next second his gaze fell on my heaving chest. Since I can't get the money, I might as well have some fun first. I suppressed my disgust and leaned back. Why did you kidnap me? I'm just an ordinary company employee. You're asking for 50 million right off the bat, but my family definitely doesn't have that kind of money. Wang Hu licked his lips lewdly. Don't try to fool me. Didn't Tan Jing and that brat Xiao Jia target those two women because of your 200 million? I'm not greedy, just give me 50 million so I can pay off my gambling debts, and I'll spare your life. I deliberately acted shocked. Are you saying Tan Jing killed my mother and sister-in-law? Wang Hu's smile widened. Yeah, isn't she your best friend? You kindly took her in, snatched her away from me, and never expected she'd kill for money, did you? Let me tell you, I saw right through that woman's ruthlessness long ago. Only you thought she was helpless and brought her home, treating her like royalty. Tears streamed down my face. It turns out I was the one who harmed my mother and sister-in-law. Now you know. But it's too late. That woman has already run off. Even the police can't find where they're hiding. Only I know. As soon as he finished speaking, his grimy hands were already groping my chest. I suppressed my disgust and let out a scream. Then, outside the window, an ear-splitting police siren suddenly blared. Dozens of police officers aimed their pistols at the inside of the car. Wang Hu was so frightened that he quickly raised his hands and covered his head. Without a word, the police opened the car door, dragged him out, and threw him to the ground. With a look of utter shock on my face, I was escorted by the police to get out of the car and rest. No one would have guessed that I had deliberately set up today's scheme after finding out that Wang Hu was driving a taxi to earn money. 8. When I saw my brother again, his face was haggard, and beneath his tightly covered clothes, I could faintly see blood-soaked wounds. It seemed he had already gone to claim the prize and found out that the amount I had actually won was only 200 yuan, not 200 million. I couldn't hold back my laughter, my eyes filled with sarcasm. My brother was so angry he tried to hit me, and the police immediately detained him for the charge of provoking trouble. I came to the police station specifically to visit Tan Jing. She was no longer as noble and elegant as when I had pampered her. She was dressed in tattered clothes, her hair was a mess, and she seemed completely listless, compared to her in the previous life, who had killed me and then obtained hundreds of thousands in savings. She was like a completely different person. I asked her if she had any regrets. For the sake of money, she didn't hesitate to kill her childhood best friend, ruining her own life. Tan Jing looked at me coldly, a sudden cold smile curling at the corner of her mouth. The thing I regret most is falling for your trick and not killing you sooner. I also let out a scornful laugh. Forget the past. The tens of thousands of dollars I spent on her can be considered as if I fed them to a dog, considering we were once good friends. I'll tell you some news. Xiao Jia has also been found by the police, in the filthy, stinking ditch. He had already drowned. Tan Jing slammed the table fiercely, as if she wanted to tear me apart, but I raised both hands, wearing an innocent expression. Don't look at me like that. I'm not so deranged as to kill someone with my own hands. I just want to watch you all tear each other apart and get the punishment you deserve. To be honest, Xiao Jia's death really took me by surprise. According to police analysis, Xiao Jia probably heard the police siren in the middle of the night, panicked and fled, then slipped and accidentally fell into a filthy ditch, never to climb out again. I should actually be grateful to him and Tan Jing. Without their relentless cruelty from start to finish, I wouldn't have been able to get rid of my mother and sister-in-law so easily, but my revenge is not over yet. After leaving the police station, I bought a train ticket home. My brother is in prison. The children are being taken care of by relatives, and my father is lying paralyzed in bed all alone. When he saw me, his eyes were full of venom, and he slurred his words, cursing me as a scourge. When I took a towel to wipe his face, he tried to spit on me. I'm not angry at all. Instead, I'm even more patiently helping him wipe his body. Dad, do you know that my brother has gambled away millions in debt? I've looked into my brother's situation. The reason he's so down and out is because there's no hope of repaying the debt, and the scars on his body were inflicted by the creditors. My dad's eyes widened instantly. I lowered my voice and leaned close to his ear. My brother can't pay back the money, and the creditors have taken him away, threatening to cut off his hands and feet. Why don't you help him? After you die, let my brother sell your organs for money so he can keep living. My father, in disbelief, was about to scold me again. I smiled with utmost sincerity. Don't you love your precious son the most? What, are you unwilling to even sacrifice your life for him? If you don't die, your dear son might not live much longer. The light in my father's eyes suddenly dimmed. I ignored him and went out on my own to visit the neighbor lady. By the time I returned, my father's body was already cold. The preliminary examination by the doctor determined it was a suicide by medication. I didn't even prepare a funeral for him. Just hastily cremated him and scattered his ashes directly into the river. From now on, all those I wanted to take revenge on have finally paid the price. For the rest of my life, I will focus on living my own life and becoming a better version of myself. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.